Take your seats. You are here because you've been reassigned to Level 4 containment staff. The purpose of this mandatory briefing is to ensure you understand exactly what it is you're now guarding. Erase whatever assumptions you brought with you into this room today. The subject of this dossier, designated SCP-353, is not a person. You are not overseeing a prisoner. You are managing an apocalyptic biological weapon capable of ending human civilization. My role today is to walk you through the operational parameters of this anomaly. Listen closely. There is absolutely zero margin for error. This briefing will proceed as a regimented dossier review. We're going to cover the entity threat overview, her biological payload capabilities, the psychological profile assessment, emotional amplification dynamics, our strict containment protocols, and finally, emergency sterilization mandates. We will proceed efficiently. Section 1. Entity Threat Overview. Outwardly, SCP-353 appears to be a normal human female, 26 years of age, possessing average physical and intellectual capacities. This appearance is entirely deceptive. The anomaly is capable of siphoning infectious viral and bacterial agents directly from her environment. But she doesn't simply contract them. She nurtures them, stores them within her own body, and possesses the capacity to redistribute them to devastating pandemic-level effect. To be absolutely clear about the lethality we're dealing with, let's look at her classification. SCP-353 is a Keter-class anomaly. She represents a Biohazard threat level 4. That is the Foundation's highest designation for containment difficulty and lethality. It requires absolute, unflinching biological security measures at every hour of every day. If you harbor any illusions of safety while operating within her sector, discard them right now. The mechanics of her biology are strictly binary. When SCP-353 is in a state of passive storage, she is completely immune to the diseases within her. She's asymptomatic, suffering zero physical deterioration. She only manifests symptoms when she actively and willfully attempts to nurture, manipulate, or change the infectious agents inside her body. When she does this, she becomes highly infectious. Furthermore, these symptoms rarely last longer than a few hours. So understand this. If you see her exhibit symptoms, it is not an accident. It is a hostile, deliberate action. Section 2. Biological Payload Capabilities. We need to address the sheer scale of the biological arsenal currently circulating within this entity's bloodstream. Commit this figure to memory. Currently, medical examinations have shown that SCP-353 holds traces of over 1,000 different infectious agents within her body. Let that sink in. She is a walking, sentient pandemic incubator. She actively carries a fraction of cataloged extinction-level agents: the human immunodeficiency virus, Ebola, Marburg, the original devastating strain of the 1918 Spanish flu, bubonic plague, cholera, SARS. She also retains 67 different strains of the common cold. It's critical to note that while she does possess the ability to manipulate and even cure diseases in nearby subjects, she exhibits a distinct preference for utilizing her own body as the primary incubator. She actively wants to be the source. Even more unsettling is the breakdown of this arsenal. While 70% of the pathogens within her are known to the medical community, at least 30% are completely unknown. The current operating theory is that SCP-353 engineered these uncatalogued strains herself. You are guarding a bioreactor capable of generating entirely new avenues of human extinction. Consider the timeline of her initial acquisition. SCP-353 did not fall victim to these diseases, she hunted them. She was initially discovered in South Africa, actively seeking to expose herself to the Ebola virus. She was then pursued to Dresden, Germany, where she successfully contracted Marburg and deliberately redistributed it. By the time Foundation forces physically subdued her and brought her into custody, it was clear she was traveling the Western world specifically to expand her collection. When interrogated as to why she did this, her only response was, "Because I can." Section 3. Psychological Profile Assessment. We must strip away whatever mystique you might be assigning to her abilities. Her mindset is one of our most critical operational risk factors. The subject refuses to use her real name, answering only to the self-appointed moniker Vector. She fixates on the color black for cosmetic purposes, adheres to a primitive might makes right philosophy, and exhibits a pronounced obsessive desire to infect rather than cure. She takes obvious, perverse pleasure in manipulating diseases within herself, completely ignoring the painful symptoms it causes. I'll refer you to a direct quote from Dr. Sari Gervi regarding her containment strategy. We're not here to make her X-Men villain fantasies come true. Treat this as a mandatory operational directive. Her delusions of grandeur are not a character quirk you can humor. They are a hostile behavioral hazard. If she refuses to cooperate, she is to be subdued and punished. Compliance is not optional. Dr. Glass's psychological evaluation further underscores this grim reality. SCP-353 displays extreme malignant narcissism, psychopathic tendencies, and a total, chilling disregard for human life. She possesses absolutely no empathy. Combined with her biological payload, this psychological framework makes her a walking time bomb. Section 4. Emotional Amplification Dynamics. There is a direct, lethal connection between her emotional state and her biological capabilities. This constitutes a critical threat warning. The radius of her infectious output is directly tied to her mood. If she reaches a state of increased emotional volatility, the potency and range of the infections she projects massively increase. Any failure on your part to manage her emotional state directly expands her kill radius. Psychological suppression is not a secondary concern for us. It is a matter of global security. Section 5. Strict Containment Protocols. What follows are the draconian physical measures required to keep this anomaly isolated from the human race. The mandatory entry procedure for examining the subject is absolute. First, a rigorous disinfectant shower. Second, donning a full hazardous materials suit and gloves. Third, connecting to a strictly internal oxygen supply. Fourth, cycling through a hermetically sealed, negative pressure airlock. The containment unit must remain underground at all times to prevent accidental contamination of the outside environment. Deviating from this sequence will result in the immediate termination of your employment, and likely your life. Her standard provisioning is strictly bare minimum. 3 meals daily, disposable surgical scrubs, a twin-size bed, 1 pillow, and 1 blanket. All other requests for comfort items are to be flatly denied. Remember what we established earlier. If you observe any outward signs of disease, rashes, boils, vomiting, or a sickly pallor, it must be reported immediately. It indicates willful manipulation of her payload. In the rare event that SCP-353 must be removed from her containment facility, emergency transport protocols are enacted. She is fitted with a heavy-duty biohazard containment suit for environmental isolation. To manage that kill radius we discussed, a time-release drug delivery device continuously administers euphoric substances to suppress her mood. Finally, an explosive collar is attached to her neck, ensuring immediate termination in the event of non-compliance or a breach attempt. Section 6. Emergency Sterilization Mandates. This is the ultimate failsafe should all previous protocols fail. The mandate here is absolute. If SCP-353 breaches containment, all affected personnel are immediately placed in Biohazard Level 4 quarantine. If the breach involves an outbreak of 1 or more Class 9 infectious agents, or if her containment suit is compromised outside the cell, emergency sterilization procedures commence immediately. This requires the localized incineration of the entire affected area. Nothing is left to chance. Everything is reduced to ash to stop the spread. I will leave you with this final thought as we conclude. If the containment of a single entity demands the constant threat of localized incineration, are you truly guarding a prisoner or simply postponing an extinction event? Keep this in mind as you assume your posts. Dismissed. This concludes today's briefing. If you wish to maintain your current clearance level and ensure continued access to the Versarian database, a subscription to this channel is mandatory. Secure your connection by leaving a like on this file, and log your requests in the comments section below to dictate which anomaly we unseal next. Stay vigilant and expect your next set of logs every day. Secure, contain, protect.